All right, so let's look at this. We've got some other symbols happening in here as well. All right, so look what we have. We have a negative, and then we have these vertical bars. Okay, remember what this means? That's absolute value. Okay, so maybe we need to write that down so we remember it. Okay, so you might have questions that have, these bars and it says absolute value. It's always positive. Okay, so absolute value is well the distance a number is from 0 and its distance is always positive. So let's take a look at what we're going to do first. Try to solve this yourself if you want, and then we'll review. All right, how did you do? Okay, what was the very first thing you did in this problem? And maybe a little bit stuck, okay? Because absolute value, like we talked about, is a type of grouping symbol. Okay, so we're going to do that first. We're going to add, okay? We're going to add negative 3 1/4 plus 0.75. Okay, so what should we do? Should we change this to a decimal? Should we change this to a fraction? Doesn't necessarily matter which way you do it, but I'm going to change this negative 3 1/4. I'll change this to negative 3.25. Okay, so we've changed that. So now we have the absolute value of negative 2.5. Okay, so what I just did, I did negative 3.25 plus 0.75, and I get my answer, negative 2.5. Okay, and I'm going to bring everything down. So we're done with this absolute value. We're done, right? Sometimes you can cross it out. Maybe that helps so you can see it. We're going to drop everything down plus 2/3 times negative 3.5 plus 4 times negative 8 plus 7. And we got kind of a double parentheses here. Okay, so we're going to deal with that. All right, what are we going to do next? All right, we're still in this absolute value. Okay, we're still in this absolute value. So we have so the absolute value. What's the absolute value of negative 2.5? Well, it's going to be positive 2.5. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so I'm going to just change my color so you can see everything that I've been doing and changing as well. Okay, so we got the absolute value of negative 2.5 is positive 2.5. Let's drop everything down, but notice, right, there's a negative there, so it makes it negative. Okay, so now it's negative 2.5. Very confusing. Okay, negative 2.5 plus 2/3, and then we're just going to write everything that we have. All right, so looking at this, what are we going to do next? All right, I still have parentheses, I still have grouping symbols. All right, we got to do negative 8 plus 7 first. That's the one that's the innermost. Innermost. So let's do that. Negative 8 plus 7. You owe me $8 and then you give me $7. That means you still owe me negative $1. So that parentheses is gone. Okay. I'll bring everything else down. I still have this parentheses though. Okay. And then so it's like saying 4, right, times. Okay. And I'm going to put negative 1 in a parentheses just to keep it safe. And then negative 3.5 plus 4, close the parentheses, and then on the outside, negative 2.5 plus 2/3. Okay, don't touch that fraction yet. What are we going to do next? All right, we're still in the parentheses. Okay, what we're going to do first, though, be careful. We got this parentheses, negative 3.5 plus 4 times negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I want to do this first. Okay, so this is like saying negative 3.5, right, plus negative 4, because a positive 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Okay, so we're going to evaluate this next. So we got negative 3.5 plus negative 4. That will give us negative 7.5. And we don't have parentheses anymore. We have negative 2.5 plus 2/3. Okay, what symbol's in between 2/3, right? The times negative 7.5. Let me put that in parentheses, keep that safe. All right, what are you going to do next? If you said multiplication, absolutely, you have to do that next. 2/3 times negative 7.5. Okay, so what are we going to do? Should we change this to a decimal? Should we change this to a fraction, right? We change this to a decimal because, working with decimal is easier. However, when we deal with a third, if you divide it, you're going to get a repeating decimal. We don't want to be dealing with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it over here. So we can say 2/3 times, okay, negative 7, I'm sorry, negative 15 over 2. So that's a 15. Okay, negative 15 over 2. All right. So you're probably wondering, how do I get negative 15 over 2? Well, one way you could change the 7 and it's just 7 and 1/2. Remember, you do 2 times 7 plus 1 over 2. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15. So it's negative 15. Then we can multiply, right? 2 times negative 15, this will be a negative 30 over 6. And then if I simplify this, negative 30 divided by 6 equals negative 5. Okay, so my answer, 2/3 times negative 7.5 is negative 5. Right, and now that's a regular number, so now I can keep this decimal, or I could have changed it to a fraction if you wanted to. Okay, so now I have negative 2.5 plus negative 5, which is going to equal negative 7.5, or if you write it as a fraction, negative 7 and 1/2. All right, a lot of stuff there. Take your time.